Hey everybody, today's assignment is going to be very similar to yesterday's, except today we're going to kind of see how interest can be a very, very bad thing. Because today it's going to concern paying off a mortgage loan. Um, so this is so again, very similar to yesterday. Even in this is how we're going to do this and how it's going to play out. Here's a Google Doc where you're going to give all of your answers, and so the Google Doc is what you're going to be turning in when this is all said and done. But we're going to be using a Google Sheet to find the answers. So here we go. Mortgage payments. When you want to buy a house, it's doubtful that you have over 150 G's just laying around or in your savings account. We mere peasants don't anyway. So you have to go to a bank that does mortgage loans and essentially beg them for the money. And you have to kind of prove that you're good for it, basically. Otherwise, they will not loan you the money. But you agree to pay them back over a period of, a certain number of years at a specified interest rate. 30 years is a common term length. But because of the interest, when the loan has been paid off, you will have given them back usually like way more money than you borrowed from them. And did you know that the interest you will pay back to the bank on top of it can be larger than the amount you borrowed? Yeah, well, I guess we'll see how the numbers play out here in a minute. But so, let's say you buy a house. And after you pay some money up front, you usually need a down payment and everything. But even after the down payment and everything, you still need to borrow $175,000 from some bank. The interest rate they give you is 4%, which is not horrible, by the way. I mean, I think these days you can get a better interest rate. It depends on obviously the time you're living in and just, I don't know, the way things are at the time. But let's just say 4%. I guess what I'm saying is it can vary a lot based on, I don't know, the stock market and I don't know, just the housing market. I don't know. Housing market mainly, I suppose, but it can vary a little bit. And, the lower the interest rate, the better. So you want to kind of, I don't know, almost like bargain for or whatever you can do to get a lower interest rate. That's what you want. But let's just use 4%. And the term you decide on is 30 years. So to calculate your monthly payment, interest included, there's a formula. And it looks like a very nasty formula. We're not going to actually do this. I already did this for you. I mean, and we're not going to explain how this works or why it works. We don't really care. But it's not that hard. I mean, it's just a formula. P is the principal amount, which is 175,000. N, I believe, is the number of years. I is the interest rate. Probably in decimal form. That's what I'm not sure of. I mean, not that we care right now, but I wonder if we're going to plug in 4 for I or like 0.04. I'm not exactly sure about that right now. But anyway, we don't really care. I've already done this for us. And the monthly payment is $835.48. Every month for 30 years, you pay that. And on a side note, just a little reality check, that is only about like squaring away with the bank. You know what I mean? Like you bought this house from somebody and you needed to give them like, I don't know, a couple $100,000 or like but you borrowed money from the bank, and this number is just about paying back the bank. I mean, there's other monthly payments like insurance and tax and other things. So it's like This is just your monthly payment to the bank. You know what I mean? Owning a house is even more expensive than that. But anyway, this is just about the mortgage loan. So $835.48 every month for 30 years. So the first couple of questions are actually pretty simple that you're going to try to answer. Question 1, after 30 years of paying this amount every month, you will have paid the bank a total of how much money? Question number 2, so after 30 years, how much will you have paid the bank just in interest alone? And you'll answer that right here. But after you answer those 2 questions, it's going to be time to delve a little deeper. Let's say you wanted to make an extra payment every once in a while, outside of your regularly scheduled monthly payments. The reason you would do this is that you would end up paying less interest in the long run. The question is, how do you figure out the exact benefits of whatever extra payments you end up making? Look, you agree on a certain number of years, okay, and all that kind of stuff, which essentially means like you're kind of locking yourself into like a total amount of money over the course of like 30 years. But if you make extra payments along the way, which might even be sort of random, like who knows, things change year by year. You can find yourself being able to like afford more money every month, or maybe like every once in a while you toss another few $100 or something, towards the bank. But anyway, like how do you figure out the exact benefits? And that's what we're going to be looking at. So we're going to be making a Google Sheet to investigate. But anyway, first of all, here we go back to the print here. First of all, it's important to understand that when you give your $835.48 to the bank every month, they put some of that towards, what you still have to pay them, from like the original principal that you borrowed. So some of that, only some of that goes towards the principal, but some of it goes towards interest, which you're paying them like from the beginning throughout the whole process. So exactly how much of your payment goes towards interest every month is where that 4% interest rate comes into play. Essentially, every month, the bank applies 4% to whatever you have left to pay on the principal. Then that number gets divided by 12, and then that determines how much of your monthly payment is going to go towards interest, which is essentially down the toilet, okay? Then the rest of it, actually goes towards the original principal and like chipping away at that and lessening that a little bit. So again, every month, 4% of whatever's left to pay from the original $175,000, 4% of that, and then you divide by 12, and then that number is going to be going towards interest, and the rest of your $800 some can go towards the principal, okay? So every month, like you're chipping away at this a little bit, and then it's like 4% of a different number every month that gets divided by 12, and yada, yada, yada. So we're going to make a Google Sheet that's going to essentially look like this. And then, then you'll go about answering the questions and stuff like that. So you're going to have a Google Sheet, just like yesterday. You're going to have a Google Sheet provided for you, like pretty much already set up. But you're going to want to, watch me set this up for you and see how this plays out. I added a column for a year. So, you'll see why, I guess, eventually. That might help out eventually. But so months, okay? I'm going to go like this. And again, like this is 30 years worth of months. This is going to be a big honking chart here. All right, okay. All right. So the current balance starts off as 175,000. I can go ahead and type that in. Okay? Our monthly payment was $835.48. $835.48. And that's money. Now, that monthly payment is the same every month. Okay, that's not going to change month by month. My current balance will change month by month. The amount of money I'm paying towards interest is actually going to change every month. The amount of my monthly payment that goes towards the actual balance will change every month, and my end balance. But this will never change, so I can just kind of type that in by hand and then drag this all the way down already. Yeah. Okay. So now I need to calculate how much of this payment will go towards the interest. So that's going to be calculated by a formula. So I got to type in an equal sign to start, right? Let me just delete that really quick. I don't want to do it quite yet. So what's my formula going to be? Remember, the amount, how much interest is calculated like this. 4% of whatever your current balance is divided by 12. So what am I going to type here? Obviously an equal sign. And then, okay, I'm going to do 0.04 times whatever's in this cell. So I'm going to click there. But then I'm going to divide by 12. Now I think that should do it. If I was being like extra paranoid, maybe I'd put parentheses around them, but I don't think that's necessary. So 583.33, which looks right. So that's how much goes towards interest. So that's at first that's most of our $835 is going to go completely down the toilet. Now, how do I figure out what's going to go in that cell? Because that's got to get calculated by a formula as well. Because I don't want to keep doing this math by hand for 360 months. I want to, throw a formula in there and then copy and paste the formula. So what am I going to type into here? Well, it's going to be equals, and then it's going to be whatever's here minus whatever goes towards the interest, okay? And so whatever's in those cells. So this cell has to reference whatever's in that cell and whatever's in that cell. And so that's going to go towards the balance. And now my end balance, what am I going to type in here? How am I going to calculate my end balance? Won't it be whatever's in this cell minus whatever's in this cell, minus whatever I was actually to pay towards the balance? So equals whatever's here minus whatever's there. And so after 1 month, after already paying $835 plus, my end balance has only been brought down to that. Now, the only other formula I need is to be able to start off the next month the way the previous month ended. So all I really need to do is do equals and then click on the last cell in the previous row. Again, I want the next month to start off the way the previous month ended. So boom, bam. Okay, and that is going to do it. Basically, now all I got to do is kind of drag down the formulas. Now, notice how I'm not going to drag down from there. That's just the number 175,000. I got to drag down from this cell. Okay, that's where the formula is. Now, when I drag all this down, it might be a bunch of zeros or a bunch of blanks. Because remember, like, this cell is going to be referencing that cell, and this cell is going to, and right now that cell's blank. So even when I drag that down, you see, that's blank because there's nothing there right now. But I want to drag this all the way down. Yeah. And then I just need to drag all of these down, and once I drag all of them down, then these cells will fill in. So I'm going to do all three of these columns at once, if you don't mind. Okay. All right, so it's already important to notice this. At the way end of 30 years, my final balance is actually like negative $2.24. That's not, I mean, that seems weird. But it turns out that all this mortgage loan mathematics is not even like a perfect science. Probably we end up with this, like, so if we just went with this formula as is and probably all these like rounded numbers to like the nearest cent, like I assume this is basically because of like rounding errors along the way, because you got to round to like the nearest penny, you know what I mean? So if we just kept all these numbers the way they were, at the end of 30 years, the bank would actually owe me a couple bucks, I think in reality what happens is, because I've owned a couple of houses, I think what happens is like every once in a while they like slightly adjust your monthly payment. Just I don't know, something like that. But they make it work at the end of it. But you also want to notice that it looks like Google Sheets is representing, negative numbers as literally a negative number with a negative sign. Sometimes spreadsheets make numbers like red, to signify. I know that sounds weird, but I didn't know what was going to happen. Like I was half expecting like a red number or a number in parentheses, believe it or not. But, bottom line, they literally use a negative sign here on Google Sheets. So that'll be like easy to spot. Just be aware of that because that's going to come into play. All right. So that's the original chart. And this is the Google Sheet for like if you made no changes. But obviously we're going to be making changes. Like in question number 3, they say, let's say in the 6th month, you make an extra payment of $835.48. You know what I mean? So you would like type that in. I'm not going to do that for you. I'll do something else kind of random. Like what if I did the 36th month, like a whole extra payment. Like you're going to do the 6th month, but just to kind of show you what kind of happens, I'm going to do the 36th month. And you can, like, what is this double? I'm just going to do this on my calculator. Because you're going to plug it into, like, that cell. Okay? So 835.48 times 2 looks like 1670.96. 835.48 times 2. So then, as soon as I hit enter, what did I just do? Oh my god. I don't know what scrolling... Oh no, it didn't. For a second I thought I did something with my scrolling on my mouse. Anyway, so I don't know if you caught that, but all these numbers now changed. Because see how this number changed? this number changed, which made this number change, which made this number. So it was like a big chain reaction. And the bottom line is, watch. Check this out. You see all these negatives? That means you didn't even need all 360 months to be completely done. It looks like we were done after like 357 months, 358 months, you know? So what you're going to do now is basically add up all of the interest, and here's how you're going to do it. For all of these positive payments, I think this was so this is the column for interest. What you're going to do is you're going to highlight only the cells that go along with like positive payments. So you're not going to include these because you were done paying it off, because look at these negative numbers. So you're going to highlight all of these interest payments. Come on. And then look right here. A lot of spreadsheets, pretty much, I think all spreadsheets, whether it's Excel or Google Sheets or whatever, will like automatically give you things like this, like the sum of all the cells you highlighted. Look at that. $124,000+ in interest alone, even if I made that extra payment in the 36th month. But you're going to do it for the 6th month, as well as other things. And then after you do that, you're going to reset and do the tweak for like question number 4. And then you're going to like reset it again, like just undo what you did, and add like an extra $50 every month. And again, every single time you need to like sum up all of the interest cells, but only for like the positive payments. Because remember, you do these extra payments and you're actually going to be done in like less months. So only add up the interest cells for like the positive payments. I think that should do it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. But good luck.